Hey folks, how you doing? I had a request to do pretty much an end gear. What I use out in the water from start to finish. So I'm just gonna show you what I use. Nothing too technical, nothing too hard to do. Okay, so spare spool. This has got a 10 weight sinking line. The line is actually from Pike Trek. If you go to www.pikeflyrod.co.uk. The guys from Pike Trek actually do some really good lines and very cheap, and they're just as good as all your name brands. That's what I'm going to use today. This is a sinker. Right, so the loop I'm using is a nylon loop. Pretty much you can buy them anywhere that sells fly tying stuff, fly fishing stuff. I prefer these loops to the pre-welded ones that you get on some lines. The trouble I've had in the past has been over the years, and my fly lines last a long time because I'm not rich and I can't afford tons of fly lines, so I need to make them last. And the trouble I've had is when you're using maybe £20 line as a leader, £20 mono as a leader, I found with the pre-welded loops, after some time when you're catching fish, you may be snagging on the bottom, you pull on that loop, the nylon can actually cut through that, and I've had that with a couple of lines where the mono's actually gone through on there, whereas these ones, you can pretty much do a loop-to-loop knot, which I'm going to show you in a second, or you can do a straight blood knot on these, and it will not cut through that nylon. Whereas if you did a blood knot on your leader on a welded loop, you'll find after time, if you're playing heavy fish or snagged on the bottom, you'll find that actually will cut through the welded loop. And I recently had that on a Rio striped bass line, which I paid stupid money for. Great line, but again, the same thing happened. I've never actually had that happen on these nylon loops. They're fantastic, so that's my preference now, is to use these. Again, very easy to put on as well. If you ever need to know how to do that, there's plenty of instructional videos out there on YouTube, but they're great, absolutely fantastic things, and cheap as well, very cheap. Okay, so that's your loop right there, just bog standard, bought from the shop. Okay, line wise, I've got a few that I use. I've used for many years. I've used the Rio lines. They're pretty good. It's just a bog standard Rio £22 leader. Sometimes I'll use the saltwater mono leader. That's a hard one as well, hard mono. But recently I've started using the Amnesia, which is also quite a good line. It's memory free, it's a quite good value, and it's doing the trick for me. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take off two arm lengths like that. Again, good sharp pair of scissors is always good. Okay, now I'm going to form a loop here. Okay, so it's quite easy. Now what I'm doing here is I'm having two arm length, which I think is about 6 feet, maybe something like that, of mono, and that's going to connect to probably, in this case I might use about £15 mono, and then that's going to go through to my organic wire. So I'm just going to show you how to do this. Right, okay, so form a loop like so, and then round and hold it like this. Then that goes through there, and you can see you formed a loop. Okay, so what I do is I get my scissors and I'll pull that. Now Now you might get people that go, oh, you know, you should wet the loop, wet the loop. Well, in years gone by, yes, definitely, you should have wet the loop. But the technology's come on so much now with monos, you don't need, you won't weaken the knot strength by not wetting it. Okay, there's been some research done on that, and the guys, I can't remember where it was now, but they checked out a load of knots with and without wetting the knot, and it turned out that it made absolutely zero difference. Okay, so I don't usually wet the knot now, never made a difference. Okay, so that's one loop, and we go down to the other end like so, and I'm going to do another one. Quite easy. Did you see that? It's quite easy. So hold that, fold it down, and then put your loop through the hole, pull it tight. Again, what I like to do is just maybe get the back of a pair of pliers, anything that's not sharp, and I like to give that a wee pull, like so. And then I'll just snip that off. Okay, again, what you can do to be extra cautious, you can varnish that, or you can maybe add a little bit of glue to that. I never bother. I usually find once I've been fishing it, it's not going anywhere. I mean, look at that. That's absolutely solid. Okay, right. So loop to loop is my preferred method. Never failed me yet. I pretty much exclusively don't use blood knots now. I used to a lot when I was a kid, growing up on the River Tweed doing trout fishing and stuff. But no, nowadays I'll use loop to loop, far easier to connect. Okay, so to connect loop, you put that through. Okay. And you pull that right through until you come to your other loop. You see that? Okay, and then you take your end and you put it through, and you just pull that all the way, just help it over the tag end, and you can see that loop there. That is solid. That is absolutely solid. The great thing also about these is they're really easy to change over, because what you just do is when you come to change it over, you just push it like that, and there you go. You can just unravel it. But it's a great solid link. Okay, and obviously if you're playing a fish of a lifetime, the last thing you want is that to fail. Okay, right. So we now have a leader, and again, if you wanted to, if you want to put another couple of feet on there, you can do. Again, this is £25. So the next section would be, I would maybe use 15 to 20. And again, if you get a snag, obviously the lighter line is gonna break first. Yep. The least mono you can leave in the water, the better. But it does happen, you know, fact of fishing life. That just goes with the territory. Okay, so if you want to put another couple of feet on there of 15 to 20 pound, you can do. It's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave that for now, and I'm going to attach the wire leader to it. Okay. Okay. Find somewhere to hang that for a second. There we go. Okay, so let's talk wire leaders. It's my little box I take out on the boat, or in my rucksack if I'm travelling light. Okay, so again, still my favoured is orthanic wire. Never ever had a problem with that whatsoever. Never lost a fish, never had a bite through. Okay, so that's one type you can use. The other type is I use this Acuflex. This is actually beading wire, believe it or not, and it's very cheap. If you buy it in hobby shops and stuff like that, beading wire, it's nylon coated, and a very good friend many years ago on Graphene Water actually put me onto this, and it's great stuff. If I wasn't using organic wire, this is the stuff I'd probably use most of the time. The other way you can do it is by using ready-made pike tracers. Okay, which are they're okay. They're cheap enough to buy. But what I do is I snip off that, and I snip off the swivel at the end, and then you're left with two loops, and you can just connect that to your leader. So sometimes I'll do that, you know, but in the meantime what I use is organic wire. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to tie up a trace. Okay, again, I don't know how long that is. Let me just grab the ruler. Okay. Yeah, so it's 12. So that's about 13 inches I've done there. So 13 inches, I'm just going to go a little bit longer. And I'm going to cut that. Deer Creek scissors, fantastic. Okay. Tidy that up. I'm quite a tidy fisherman. I always put stuff away when I'm done with it, because otherwise it gets lost. It goes over the side of the boat, etc., etc. Right. Okay. So here's our organic wire, or other tie-ball leader, whatever you like to use. And what to do is I'm going to again put a loop. Can be a bit fiddly, especially if you've got cold hands. So I've just pulled that through. Tighten that off. Okay. Now you might think that's actually not a very long trace, but that's kind of what I use, and it's always been plenty. I've never had a fish bite through above that. I do tend to find when fly fishing, most of the fish are hooked pretty well up in the mouth in the scissors. I honestly can't remember the last time I had a deep hooked pike. That's why I tend to keep my leaders fairly short. Okay, I do actually. I'm kind of thinking about. I mean, I've had no issues with this tie-ball leader and stuff, but I'm actually thinking about going back to a lot of the guys who troll up in the Canadian lakes with big lures and stuff. They actually use like 100-pound fluorocarbon and stuff, and I know it's a touchy subject, but they don't usually lose fish. I'd say they probably lose about the same amount of fish as somebody using a wire trace. You know, so you've got to ask yourself, is it a way to go forward? I don't know. I know other guys in the UK that use fluorocarbons in the big diameters, like 100 pounds, 90 pounds, 120 pounds, and they will make them the same as you make traces. I don't know. I have used them in the past. I've never suffered any fish losses. It's just one of those things. Obviously, it doesn't work if you're one of the dead baiting guys. I know that, but it seems to work for fly fishing and lure fishing. So I don't know. But again, it's a preference. It's up to yourself. Okay, so there's our loop again. It made exactly the same way. Okay, so again, what I'm going to do is put that through there. Okay, and then through there, and through the loop and then just tighten that. Okay, and just gently put it over the knot. Okay, and there you have a really secure and strong connection between your leader and your trace. Right, and there on the end we have the loop you need for your fly or your swivel. Okay, so myself, I tend to use a system called Fast Tack, which are these clips here. Okay, this is the smaller ones are a size 2, which I tend to use if I'm using smaller clouser type minnows. If there's water, for example, if I'm perch fishing and there's waters where there's pike, obviously you're not just going to go for a straight leader. I tend to go for a number 2 on these ones. The larger flies I have, I go for a number 3. Okay. These are absolutely fantastic. That's my spare ones, but I keep all of them in a box like this. I have different swivels for different things, but I'll give you a quick. That monstrosity there. What I use that for? I use that for sub bugs. And if I have one. Not quite a sub bug, but I can show you. Okay. What I use these, because deer hair like this is naturally very buoyant, and I use this on sinking lines in deep water. And what we do is we just put that on. It's like a corkscrew. We just twist it around until it goes on. Okay, and that's that on there. The reason I use that is I like to have a little bit of extra weight on that, because I use these on sinking lines, so this will sink and that will help it like get down. So that sits actually off the bottom booby style, so that's what I use those ones for. Okay, but my favourites, without a doubt, are the Fast Tacks. Again, Mustad make these, so you should be able to get them all over the place. Right, let's have a look at the trace. I'll show you how to get these on. See, I change a lot of flies during the day because I like time flies, as you know, and I'll change a lot of flies during the day because I like to see how flies look in the water. And if you don't, then you can just use one fly all day with this, but the knot I would use would be a different knot, which I'll show you at the end of that. But the loop knot is great if you're using these Fast Tack swivels or any connectors of any kind. Again, quite simple. You take the loop, you push it through, and then over, bring it back, like so. And there you have your Fast Tack. What I like about these is they've never let me down. In the past I've actually had link swivels that have actually opened up on the cast and I've lost flies. These, I've never had that problem. Let's just show. So there's a fly. There you go. Simple as that to get on. Changing flies. Simple as that. Change flies very quickly, very efficiently. Great thing. Okay. So that's pretty much that. And great things. To take them off again, you know, it's very easy. You can either just push that loop through, or you can just cut it off there. But if you're going to be doing that, you know, just make sure you give yourself some extra trace, okay, because you don't want to go too short on that. And that's that. Right, so I'm just going to wind that leader on here, and then I'll show you another knot that I sometimes use, particularly with when I'm fishing subbugs. When I'm fishing subbugs, I tend not to change the colours of them. I don't swap them out a lot because they're pretty much a surface fly, making lots of noise on the surface, so I'm not overly convinced colour makes a huge bit of difference. It's just getting that motion on the water, on the top of the water. I've got to put my subbug up here somewhere to show you, but I seem to have... okay, let's have a look. Ah, here we go. Okay, this is a subbug. I've not got the eyes on this yet. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you this piece of amnesia. A quite easy one to do. Okay, so if you're not going to change your fly all day, or you're only going to change a couple of flies, the jam knot is fantastic. Okay, so what we do, you see how much I've got there, can you see that? Okay, so what we do, push together, form a loop. Okay, and pull that through, like so. Okay, so there you have your piece of leader, and you have that loop in there. What to do next is thread your fly on, and then place your leader through the loop like so, and then go through again. So you have this, and then here what we do is we tie a knot, just a bog standard overhand knot. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pull that down until that knot reaches your loop, and then see, that's not coming out, that's a jam knot. The only thing you really need to do with that is just snip a bit of that away. That's a really good one for the subbugs, because you can do that with your tieable leaders as well, and it's a great knot because it gives that a lot of movement, that fly, and that's pretty much a jam knot. And that's pretty much the two ways that I use my leaders. Very easy to do, and they work brilliantly. So that's pretty much it. So you do that and then get yourself out fishing. Again, I'm no expert. This is just what's worked for me, what I've passed on and worked for other people. I don't really see the need to complicate lots of things. You get a lot of guys coming from the side of trout fishing into pike fly fishing, and what they will do is they will bring all their little idiosyncrasy trout fishing things with them, like all this like quadruple underhanded devastating fly knot or things like that, which actually have no relevance in pike fly fishing. My pike fly fishing, I have a floating line, I have an intermediate line, I have a sinking line. My sinking line, I'll sometimes attach loop to loop leg core leaders. If I'm fishing in deep water with subbugs, I want to get them down fast, and that's all I use, nothing complicated whatsoever. The trout fishing is completely different. They use lines that sink at different rates and stuff like that. I can't be arsed with all that. I just want to go fishing and have fun. So that's all the lines you need. You know, if you're fishing an intermediate line, you know it sinks at, you know, I don't know, like a foot every, say, 10 seconds. So you just count it down to 10, bring your fly in. Maybe the next cast you'll count it down to 15, bring it in, explore the water. You know, and I like doing that actually in waters up to probably about 20-25 foot deep. After that I tend to go with sinking lines, you know, because when you're bringing them back up, they're coming up through the water column as well, where you fly behind it. So, you know, you don't need lots of expensive lines. You know, that's quite, you know, a false economy. But then again, us as anglers, you know, we like to have the name product. But you've got to bear in mind that a lot of these name products and the cheaper products you can get all come out of the same factories, you know. But again, we're all tackle tarts and we like to have the name on the rod and stuff like that, you know. But hey, if that's the way you want to go, that's cool, not an issue. I just do what works for me. So anyway, so that's about it. I'm going to disappear off now and crack open a beer. I hope you've learnt something from that. Again, keep it simple, that's all you need. Thanks very much for watching. And if you're heading to the big fly fair in Holland next year, 2018, I'll be tying there for 2 days, so feel free to come along, ask some questions, have a laugh, have a bit of a crack. All good. Look forward to seeing you there.